Hi, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'm just going to try to wrap up this topic of domain and range. We are going to look at examples. Um, we have four graphs, okay? F, G, H, and I. So starting with F, sorry, if we're supposed to get the domain as well as the range for F, we start with the domain. If you remember, domain refers to all the x values for which the graph is valid, and the range refers to the y values, all of them for which the graph is also valid. Okay, starting with the domain, as you can see from let's say from the left hand side, you see if you just extend like vertical lines from the left hand side, all of them, they are going to touch the, you just create arbitrary vertical lines, basically, not extend instead. So when you create arbitrary vertical lines, you will see that all of them, they are going to touch the graph somewhere. So that tells you that the graph exists for all x values, that is from negative infinity up to positive infinity. So the domain is going to be that x is an element of real numbers, or you can say x is an element of from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity. Okay, see, the infinity sign doesn't look like an infinity sign, but yeah. So you can just choose which format you prefer and write that. You don't have to write both. And then in terms of the range, we are looking at graph F again. The range, we are going to look at all the y values for which the graph is valid. Okay, so we're just going to create arbitrary horizontal lines to see if all of them, they are going to touch the graph. You can see this one doesn't touch the graph until you get to negative 8. It still doesn't touch the graph, but any line above negative 8 starts touching the graph. So you can say the graph is valid for all the y values which are greater than negative 8. So that means y is an element of from negative 8 all the way to positive infinity. So you're using circular brackets to show that you're not including negative 8, or you can just say y is greater than negative 8. That is how you can write the range for F. Okay, let's look at graph G. Okay, this is graph G. With graph G, you can see that for domain, it's still the same as that of graph F, because if you were to draw arbitrary vertical lines, you will see that all of them, will touch the graph somewhere. So the domain is still the same, which is the fact that x is an element of real numbers, or you can say x is an element of negative infinity. The infinity looks like an 8. It's not supposed to look like that. Okay, so yeah, this is just two options that you can use. And for the range, for the range, you can say you have to draw some arbitrary horizontal lines. You can see they are touching the graph all the way until you get to somewhere just below a 8, that positive 8 there. So that is the horizontal asymptote. Okay, then now you just have to state the y values for which the graph is valid, or the y values that when you extend the arbitrary horizontal lines from those y values, they are definitely going to touch the graph somewhere. So it's those y values that are below 8, that is y is less than 8, or you can write it as y is an element of from 8 all the way to, or from negative infinity, because you have to start with a smaller value, from negative infinity all the way to 8. Okay, because you're starting from here going all the way to somewhere below 8, and you're using circular brackets to show that you're not including the 8. Okay, for the infinity sign, whether you include or exclude, that's not a topic for you to worry about. We always use circular brackets because it's, I actually, let me not even try to say because anything, because I have no idea why. Okay, and then H and I, these are the graphs. These are just straight line graphs, and the domain as well as the range for straight line graph, it's always X is an element of real numbers for the domain, and for the range is Y is an element of real numbers. That's what I just wanted to state. For both H and I, they have the same domain and the same range, simply because if you were to draw arbitrary vertical lines for when you are trying to find the domain, you will see that all the X values, they are going to touch the graphs somewhere, and then arbitrary horizontal lines, when you're trying to find the range, you'll see that all the Y values, they are definitely going to touch the graph somewhere. Okay, so if you extend all the Y values horizontally, you will see that you're going to touch the graph somewhere. So from any Y value that you can think about, just extend it horizontally like that, you'll see you're going to touch the graph somewhere. I hope that makes you understand this whole topic of domain and range, as well as how you can go about finding the domain and the range. If you still have a problem, you can leave a comment and then we try to address that problem, that specific problem that you are having. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Please do subscribe, like, and share the video with some of your friends. Thank you.